All right, here I am at the out-of-service railroad crossing on East Cochran Avenue in Charlotte, Michigan. Now, as you can see, this is another one of these rather neat, out-of-service crossings, maybe temporarily out of service, owned by the Charlotte and Southern Railroad, which is a 3-mile branch line that extends out from the CN Flint subdivision, and they ran a dinner train through here for years after, they bought it out of Grand Trunk Western ownership. But now, ever since 2020, since the pandemic hit, they shut this railroad down, and I'm not totally sure if they're going to bring it back into service or not. But yeah, I decided to go on, and in the meantime, while this is still out of service or possibly abandoned, I decided to go around and tour a third crossing on this line. I already toured Lansing Street and Lovett Street, and if you look down there, you can see the active railroad crossing on East Cochran Avenue number 2, owned by the CN Flint sub, because the junction where this line connects to is actually right over there. So this crossing features some rather neat classic equipment, and I decided to make my first railroad crossing tour video of 2023 by starting here while I'm getting home from trade school for the weekend. So yeah, I guess with all that said, let's go on and get into it. So for the first signal, this has a SafeTran base, older generation, and here's the emergency information. The dot number for this crossing, the dot number is 543710M, and if you look underneath it, you can see an old Norfolk Southern sticker emergency information, which is interesting. Yeah, so Grand Trunk Western actually took ownership of this line, and then was probably later bought out by Norfolk Southern, which is weird, and then the Charlotte Southern. But yeah, and for the lights, this has 2 pairs of SafeTran 8-inch lights sitting on a SafeTran light bracket, as you can see. Yeah, these seem to be in pretty rough shape. You can see the background on this one is about bent. Yep. And then for a bell, this has a General Signals Type 2 electronic bell, most likely replacing another Type 2 in the past. Now, I know this because there's videos of this crossing in action on an external website. Same goes with Lansing Street, in which I'll explain in a moment, or where it's at least. So yeah, that right there is the first signal, pretty basic, and you can see the crossing grade is in pretty poor shape. You can see how the lawn kind of goes over it. So yeah, let's go ahead and cross the road and go over to the next signal next to this loud industry where trucks pull in, and probably what the railroad serves, or at least the CN Flint sub serves. So yeah, kind of smells fishy. Well, there is a restaurant nearby, so. So hey, here's the second signal, which is not similar to the first, has more classic equipment. This one has a WRS clamp style base. Well, I think this is WRS, I'm not totally sure, but this has a clamp style base. And here's the emergency information, the dot number once again. And this one has no older dot tag, but there used to be one up there. So yeah, and for the lights on this one, this has 2 pairs of WRS 8-inch lights, all sitting on a WRS light bracket, made in the USA, patented in Canada. Pretty neat stuff here. These also are seen better days. Yep. And for the bell on this one, this is the rare part. This has a WRS mini bell, as you can see. WRS mini mechanical bell. Let me take a closer look at the back. WRS Co. And you can see that the crossbook on this is also in pretty rough shape. And let's see if I can go ahead and shake the mast and see if I can ring the bell for you also. Yep. Go ahead and, all right. Huh. I should have done it. Maybe the bell is like seized on the inside. Yeah, I can't really blame you. This bell is pretty old, and it's also pretty cold out. So yeah, that right there is the East Cochran Avenue, I would say number 1 crossing. You can see the in-service one down there, number 2, home of the Flint sub. I should probably tour some Flint sub crossings around here. So yeah, that right there is all there is to show. Here's the relay case, which is very close to the first signal, or second signal. It's made of wood, and whoa. Ha! This crossing's actually active. This crossing is actually active. Like, you can actually, run a train through here, and these crossings will activate. Huh, you can see the indicator light is on, while the crossings further down are actually shut off, but this one is actually still working. So if you were to send a train through here, these crossings will activate. That is quite neat. Yeah, although it's out of service, but it's more like unused railroad crossing, as you can see, judging from the track condition, but that is still really cool. Maybe CN does send some locals through here, maybe put some cars into storage, but I'm not totally sure. But yeah, that right there is the show. Let's go ahead and take a look at the track view. Down there is heading towards the junction where the Charlotte and Southern connects to the CN Flint sub. It kind of goes behind that house and connects there. You can see where the tracks are through there, judging from where it is, and you can see the big industry right there. And down there is heading towards Oliver Road or Oliver Street, Lansing Street, Lovett Street, and so on and so forth. And eventually you will reach the end of the line. If you look closely, you can see the dinner train itself, led by a GE 44 tonner, which is actually the very last one ever built, which is interesting. But yeah, sadly, it's just sitting there collecting dust and dirt. Hopefully they reactivate this line someday, because that would be really cool. So yeah, I guess with all that said, this was the East Cochran Avenue out of service or unused railroad crossing in Charlotte, Michigan, owned by the Charlotte and Southern, and formerly owned by Norfolk Southern and Grand Trunk Western. Pretty neat stuff, I had to say here. It would be kind of cool if this crossing activated for like a train or something, but then again, that's pretty unlikely. But the crossing, it's shut on. I mean, turned on. Shut on? What? But yeah, I guess with all that said and done, over and out. 5-5.